I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Minnesota Senate Republican Minority Leader Mark Johnson. Senator, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thank you for making the time. It's great to be with you.
Your state has been making big news as of late. Vice President Kamala Harris officially tapped Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz as her running mate. Before this grand announcement, Governor Walz really wasn't known. He wasn't a nationwide name, but you know him, you work with him closely. So can you talk to us about how he leads and what it's like working with Governor Walz?
For that question, I think it's interesting with Governor Walz, the way that he's coming across right now. People see him as somebody that's very middle of the road, kind of a compromising figure that would be able to bring both sides together. And when he was first elected as governor, we were actually pretty hopeful as Republicans that he was a governor that we could work with. Unfortunately, he's proved that he's somebody that's very one-dimensional. And that means, within his party he'll work. But anybody that's outside of that, he's very unwilling to compromise. And we have many instances where, Republicans who control, nearly half the state as far as the votes go, he has not engaged the way that you would anticipate, a governor reaching out and building those relationships. And it's been very disappointing that way as a leader to not have a relationship with the governor. So that's been very unproductive over here in Minnesota.
Can you talk about that a little bit more? What specific instances did you want to work across the aisle? Did you bring up concerns to Governor Walz? And in your opinion, you feel those went unanswered? You feel that he was unwilling to work with you?
Yeah, there's a lot of examples. So as I've led the Minnesota Senate Republicans over the last 2 years here, there's been a lot of opportunities in different reforms, whether it's been in the business community as far as mandates are concerned, or with taxation, or with some of the social policy that we're looking at, where we have members that are very concerned about the direction that the Democrats were taking it. And there's opportunities to work together. We reached out with the House Republican leader and myself, trying to get those meetings to have some of that legislation really adjusted to work for our party, to work for theirs. But those calls went unanswered. And we had many, many attempts to try to sit down and meet and hammer these issues out. And yet we were just always ignored, always put off to the back burner during that time. And these are opportunities to really build those bridges amongst parties, amongst people. And he completely ignored those opportunities and left a really bad taste in the mouths of those who were trying to get work done for all of Minnesota.
To your point, the campaign is really painting him as this Midwestern dad who was able to work across the aisle. President Obama talked about his flannels during his speech. They're really leaning into that figure as someone who can bring both sides together. Do you think, or are you concerned rather, that with Walz on the ticket, they're going to attract more maybe disenfranchised Republicans, more moderates, more independents?
Well, for those who in Minnesota who really know who Governor Walz is, they know that he's not a moderate. We have some of the most extreme social policy that passed under his watch. Also, we're number one in income tax now when you look amongst the states. That includes states like New York and California. We know that we're more extreme in things like mandates, regulations on businesses, and that's why they are moving their production, their expansions outside of Minnesota. So he's a wolf in sheep's clothing if people think that he's a moderate that's going to be able to bring people together, because the reality is that he governs to the extreme left.